this is Kim with the My Sexy Business team, and I'm here at the Hope to Hope conference with my beautiful co-host.
Hi, I'm Kristi Bridges from One Moment Wiser.
We are just having a blast. I don't even know how to put in words what all has happened in just the last day and a half. It has been an amazing thing to be a part of, and I feel so blessed and so honored that these people have come and given of their time to be speakers, but I also feel blessed and honored that you are here with us. If you're watching this live or on replay, we want you to know that we appreciate you coming and supporting this conference. This conference is not about selling. You can't buy a sponsorship. It's no recruiting. There's nothing in this conference that's trying to get you to do anything except be who you are and to have hope that whatever you're going through, you're going to get through. So you can let your hair down. You don't have to put that guard up worried about what we're going to sell you, because we're not going to sell you anything. We just want to introduce you to amazing people and give you access to them so that you can get past wherever it is you're stuck. This conference came about because 17 years ago, my oldest son passed away, and it was hard. It was very difficult, and I didn't know if I was going to get through it. And the truth is, not only did I get through it, but this conference is actually an outcome of my son's legacy. He was almost 14. He would have been 30 years old yesterday. It's crazy to think that I could even have a 30-year-old. It's crazy to think that time passes so quickly. But here's the thing. I can either stay isolated and, be upset because I miss him, or I can celebrate.
That's right.
And so I've chosen to celebrate and to be, be here with Kristi, with Connie. Connie Myers is behind the scenes too. We have a whole crew that is here to serve you and to be good to you. So let us be good to you. I'm sorry. I'm kind of getting emotional. Everybody's been kind of like being so sweet to me in particular that I'm just like, this is not what this is about. Kristi's been, she's made me cry 3 or 4 times so far. And the thing is, I'm just blessed. I feel very, very blessed to have the opportunity to bring this conference to you. And I want you to feel blessed by the conference.
We were talking, we've talked a couple of times with people who mentored Kim. Mm. And then we've talked a few times with people that Kim has mentored as well, that she's coached. But through those conversations, a couple of things keep coming up. Number one is we make plans for our lives, but then we think, we're told when we're kids, you could be anything, you could do anything. And so we start out being and doing, and then we go through a period where everything just kind of crashes and we don't get to do what we expected, or what we expected gets, goes right out from under us. And what we end up doing years after, we look back and we go, wow, life is so much better than it could have been, because I submitted to that process, but I didn't just fold. I kept showing up. And, Dr. Maria Katsamanis was talking yesterday about how she did actually fold, but her twin sister showed up and took her to a job interview where they could both get hired at the same time. Yes. And made her do a job that made her sick, actually, but it got her out of the ball she'd curled up into, to a place where now, years later, she's doing things that she had passion for as a kid, but never dreamed could actually become a reality. A reality is formed by all these processes that we go through, these situations where we don't know what to do, but we keep trying and end up doing miraculous things.
Yes.
It's been such a pleasure meeting these people through you, Kim.
Oh, I'm honored because I don't know how a plain simple princess can like know this many amazing people, but we do. Our next guest is. I will have a hard time getting through this one. We'll all have a hard time getting through this one without crying.
Get your tissues.
Because our next guest, she's getting on. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty, just so that you know that we're trying to get her on. But she is so amazing. She gave up a lifestyle, I'll say, in Manhattan to move to a farm and do equine therapy and to really make a difference in a lot of people's lives that, I have been there. Actually, Jennifer Milne is a mutual friend of mine and Vicki Smith. Let me just go through the whole line. And Jennifer told me, she said, you've got to go meet Cece. And I'm thinking, okay, I get that a lot. Okay, I love meeting people. I'll go. When I get around, I will go. Well, we actually made a trip last fall and went to Christianna Capra is her name. Went to her barn. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, but this is my princess truthfulness. I'm thinking, okay, I love horses and I love the idea of all this and you're helping people. That's awesome. I was blown away by what all happened. I was absolutely blown away. And the outcome has been, oh my goodness, it has changed me. I will just tell you that. Just what I saw and witnessed there has changed me and made me more aware of things that I was not aware of. They are doing incredible things with medical students, helping them learn to have better bedside manners, which will change history because we'll have better doctors, we'll have better care because they understand nonverbal communication. They're helping vets that otherwise, I can't imagine, and I have said this out loud before, I can't imagine going through what they've gone through and then coming back and just being plopped into, okay, now, go to work, come home, be normal. And they've lived these extraordinary military lives. And now you want them to take that away and just,
right,
just adjust back.
The high adrenaline, high banding together, high tension life. And now they have to not try to protect everyone all the time and do accounting instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't,
like that.
I just can't even, I can't comprehend the adjustment. But the equine therapy actually has given them the ability to, instead of being volatile from the transition, given them a place to start healing. I guess really that's what it is. And the whole thing was just amazing. She does it with kids who have lost a sibling. That was one of the ones that was so amazing to watch, like the miracles that have happened. They don't know how to communicate the loss of their brother or sister or their parent. And they come, and I don't understand. I'm not even going to pretend like I understand all of it because I don't, but I witnessed it. Yeah. And you can't deny something that you see for yourself. And so Cece heads up all of these things. She is absolutely phenomenal. And she, I want her to announce what I'm trying to announce, but we're having trouble getting her on. If I don't want to spill the beans, but I want her to tell you what happened just a few days ago. It's a huge deal. I mean, people want what happened. Oh, if I keep talking, I'm just going to tell. I tell you what, can you talk for just a minute?
I can talk.
Let me see if I can help her.
Absolutely. So we were talking earlier about communication and about the work that Christianna Capra and Dr. Maria Katsumanas do with these horses. And people, we grow up constantly as children, constantly adapting to other people and constantly trying to figure out how to be, right? And we get to a certain point where we think we've got that down. We think we're good at it. Especially, the medical students. Oh, they're smart, they're brilliant, they're medical students. And they get to the point where they think they've got that down. Taking those medical students to the ranch and introducing them to these horses who've been traumatized and who respond to their abruptness or to their body language teaches them where they might still need to work on their skills. And I think as people, sometimes we don't want to slow down enough to learn.
Can you hear us, Kristi?
And now she's here. Yay!
Sorry about that.
No worries. I'm sorry, we were having technical difficulties. I'm so glad you're here with us.
Yes.
I think it was my technical difficulty, but anyway.
You look chilly. Is it cold?
No, it's really not that bad. I'm actually walking out to the horses right now. And I'm almost wondering if they're too, here's Molly. I'm almost wondering if they're too hot.
Oh, wow.
Get her in here. Here's Molly.
Hey, Molly.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Sorry, I scared her. I think I can turn this the other way. Do you want me to turn it the other way so you can see the horses?
Oh, I would love to show them.
Let's see if I can do it. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Beautiful.
There's Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Molly, like the story of Molly is so precious because, and I'm going to tell my princess version, Cece.
I just want to say real quickly, if you guys are seeing some junk up at the top of her forehead, she cut herself last Thursday and had 22 stitches.
Oh,
put in her forehead.
Oh,
bless her heart.
I'll try and get. If you see the top of her head, she's got stitches up there.
Oh my goodness.
Good girl.
My goodness.
You're
She's
okay.
so beautiful.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I just think that everyone needs to know that she's one of your horses that's like on your nonprofit side, and she came from a kill pen and was rescued. And when I first came
Sorry about the siren. Apparently there's a fire.
Oh no!
We have a volunteer fire company here, so that's them calling the firemen to come to the firehouse.
Oh my goodness. Nothing like live. Right. Well, Molly's the one that she has actually got scars all over her poor little body because of whatever she suffered in her life. We don't even know.
Right. In fact, we did the vet that did the veterinarian that did the stitches for her did such a good job. And we realized that when her summer coat comes in, she's got a scar that goes straight down her forehead, straight down her face. So now she's going to have a cross across her forehead.
Oh my goodness.
It's like permanent Ash Wednesday for Molly.
Oh, she is so cute. So do you want to tell a little bit, Cece, about like what goes on with the horses?
Sure. Yes, I know. We didn't really do a proper intro, right?
I know. Well, we were telling them about you, but we didn't probably cover 100th of how you are.
We didn't want to give away your story too much.
Yeah. And I told him you're going to announce because I almost blew it because I was going to tell him what happened a few days ago. But I want you to tell it. I want you to be the one. And I'm, a princess can't wait too long. I just like terrible.
Well, you're talking about the ceremony, right?
Yes.
Yes. So a week ago, well, Tuesday the 20th, I guess it was a little more than a week ago, we had a birthday party here, and we also had a National Medal of Honor award ceremony, and it was also combined, unfortunately, with a funeral or a farewell. So on January 20th, my lead therapy horse, Spring Thaw, he's the one that the program is named after. He's the one who made me do this work in the first place. He had a really tough winter. It was very, very cold, and he was 30 going on 31. He was just 2 months shy of his 31st birthday. The cold was just way too much for him to handle, and he passed. We had to let him go on January 20th. And I was, of course, devastated because he's my whole world. And hi, Dane. And 4 days after he passed, our DOM unit from the hospital, it's a homeless vets with PTSD, showed up for their session, and I had to tell them that he had passed. And in the middle of that, they said, well, we have a surprise for you. And they mentioned that he was nominated for an award, service animal award. I'm going to switch the phone back around because I've got more horses here while I'm talking. This is Dane's nostril. Anyway, so they told me that he had been nominated for an award and he won it. And it went all the way to the national level. There's his widow, Siriana.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, so I was just kind of blown away by that. And at the same time, bittersweet, certainly. But we had about 80 to 100 people here in the freezing cold on March 20th to celebrate his birthday. He would have been 31 that day. And we had a Vietnam veteran bagpiper play the bagpipes. We had a trumpeter come to play taps. But taps wouldn't really play because it was so cold, and I think that was Spring saying, don't play taps. That's sad. So it didn't really work out, but people got the idea. And what really touched me the most was the turnout of veterans. The Rolling Thunder was here. Senator Bateman came. He's our New Jersey state senator. And Leonard Lance's office sent a representative. That's our district congressman. And he also came to present the flag that was flown over the nation's capital for Spring on February 22nd. And there was a certificate that said this flag was flown in honor of Spring Thaw for his service to veterans. So it was just, it was really a surreal day. And for me, in a way, it was a sense of closure and also a sense of honor and pride. I'm so proud of him. But it was also a way for me to finally let go because for 2 months, I'd been kind of waiting to do that, and I kept his stall alive because I knew we'd have to have. I'm being surrounded by horses right now. I kept his stall alive, but probably a little too long. The first 3 weeks, his stall was a comfort for me, and I would go in there and sit with him, his energy that he held there, and I would keep it, and it was a place for me to go and kind of be close. When his ashes arrived, I would sit in there with those, and anyway, after a little while, I noticed the dust was piling up in there, and I was avoiding it, except at feeding time. And I realized that had I not had this ceremony to do, I would have probably closed it before then. But now, Siri moved in there on Sunday, so she sleeps in his bed now.
I saw that.
And she is surrounded by Uncle Dane and Mama Myth, who is quietly having her hay up on the hill there. I don't know if I got that in the view there, but
yes,
she's got her back to us having hay. Anyway, so yeah, it was something that obviously I didn't plan on and I didn't know was happening, and yet it was kind of appropriate for the type of farewell that he would have. He didn't do anything small.
He wasn't small.
No, but he did. Yeah, he did everything big. Everything was, according to him, larger than life. And excuse me just one second. I got to tie this gate shut.
Okay.
Because they're crafty.
They're smarter than we think they are. Was he a rescue horse as well?
Spring?
Right.
Sort of. I say sort of because he was always in charge of what was going on. I found him at Claremont Riding Academy in New York City 21 years ago, and he refused to give lessons in the tiny little ring. He would go to the park with riders. It was a hack barn where you could rent a horse and go ride in Central Park. And he had this move that he had perfected of once we get going a little bit, let me just drop my shoulder slightly on one side, and then I'm just going to turn slightly the other way, and the rider would sort of plop on the ground. Not injured, just off his back. And then he would peruse the park and graze and do whatever the hell he wanted, and then make his way back through city traffic to the barn and go, I'm home, somebody let me in. That ended up on the news, on 1010 Wins News, which is a huge AM news radio station, because some reporter probably just saw it. And the next day, the owner at Claremont was saying, that's it, he's done, he's out of here, he's such a liability. And I had kind of ridden him in the park myself, and he tried that on me, but he didn't get me off because I rode so many rank horses growing up because I couldn't afford my own horse, so I rode all the riffraff, and I just was able to stay on. And I used to take him off the bridle path because I realized that was really his boredom. Mm-hmm. So I ended up saying, well, what would it take to have this horse? And so for many, so that's why I say he's sort of a rescue, but he wasn't really a rescue. He kind of found me and ultimately rescued me. Mm-hmm. And he rescued me from my life and sort of the direction I was heading that wasn't necessarily, it would have fed me and would have done well for me, I think. But at the end of the day, I don't think I would have been very happy. Mm-hmm. And he brought me to something that is fulfilling and is my life's work. I guess I'll just put it that way. He brought me to my life's work.
It's wonderful.
And you're changing so many lives doing what you do.
It was interesting. I had one of our veterans showed up to the ceremony in full dress, and that was significant in that I had learned that his last detail as he retired was to flagfold for a month. And in 30 days, they did over 60 funerals. And he was the one to end up with the flag because he was the highest ranking officer. And so he was the one that handed that flag over. And he said when he was done with that, I'm not going to put this on again unless it's for a really good friend. And so he showed up that morning in full dress, and I looked at him and I said, wow, you're gorgeous in uniform, because I realized what that meant. And he said, yeah. He said it was appropriate. He goes, I was shaving this morning and I was a little gruffy, so I decided to shave, and I started to do my head. And once I started to do my head, I realized that I was getting dressed that day and that Grandpa was a good friend. So I realized, I guess, through all of that at some point, he stopped being my horse, and he became everybody's horse. Yeah. And he worked with over 700 veterans before he passed. He started in June 2012, and his last time he went into the arena in his life was on January 17th, and that was with a group of veterans, and he died 3 days later.
So he started out being kind of a rebel. Someone who just didn't want to be forced into, the same old pattern ridden by some dud, but because you actually understood him and were able to work with him and show him, okay, I understand you. You don't have to ride the trail. He ends up changing people's lives and vocations.
And I'll even go one further. He was the boss. And he was half Appaloosa, which gives him sort of that stubborn, people call it stubborn. I think it's high intelligence that is misguided as stubborn. But he also is a thoroughbred, so he was very athletic and agile and fast. So it became a thing when I started riding him to compete. We did eventing, which is sort of like a triathlon for horses. And the first season that we competed, we got eliminated in cross country, which is the second phase of 3, all year long. And that was because I was trying to ride him to the fences and guide him to where to take off and all. That's how you're trained to do that stuff. And he would have none of that. So he would stop, he would go short, he would run out, he'd go off course. But every time we got a whistle and thank you. So before Dijon, no, you cannot eat the phone. No, I have a goat. There's a goat here with me. Anyway, he forced me to realize that he was the boss, and the only way we were going to do this is if we did it his way. And so that following winter, as we were coming into spring, I said, well, all right, let's figure this out because I'm not going to waste a whole nother years of show fees on getting eliminated and not even finishing.
Yeah.
So I said, if you jump, if I get to pick the jump we're going to take, I get to do the course, I get to steer, I won't touch you. You can do the rest. And that is how we competed for 6 years. I could not tell him a single thing, how to stand, how to move, how to jump, how to take off, how to land. I could say this one, and he'd go, okay, now don't touch me. That was really hard to ride like that, especially going about 30 miles an hour, over a terrain. Just to totally trust and realize that as long as I let him make those decisions, we'd be okay. And we ended up placing and we ended up doing okay. We even won a couple. So it kind of set me up, I think, for the rest of our life together, because he retired briefly for about 2 years, and then we discovered this work, and then he worked full time until his last day. But it was sort of the setup, I think, for me to be able to be open to admit that a horse was smarter than I was, and that a horse had more answers than I did, and that, Dijon, stop. And, he's pushing on me constantly. I'm trying to keep the phone from moving. Anyway, he's going to know. Oh, I got to switch. You can see what I'm dealing with right now.
Oh, he's so cute.
Anyway, get off.
He's grown.
He has grown. He's gotten stronger. Now he's trying to headbutt the phone.
Oh my goodness. He says, you're paying attention to something that's not me, Mom.
I live live.
Me too.
I was thinking I could sit on this picnic table and just be quiet for a minute, but apparently not.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so that was sort of the start of how we got this going. And I fully, at the point that I wasn't riding him anymore competitively, I would hop on him every now and then for a trail ride. I could totally sort of safely admit that he had all the answers. And then as we started to do the work, I started to really see it, and in a profound way. I mean, when I tell that story about the jumping, it's sort of funny, and I look back on it and I go, yeah, but when I saw it happen in the arena with trauma clients and with medical students alike, so something from, now I got 2 goats. So it became very profound for me, because I realized he really does know. He really does have the answers, and he's saving lives with those answers. And that's really where I kind of just handed everything over to him and said, okay, you know what? You are the chieftain. You are the Jedi horse. He was named that by one of our teenagers. What is that? What is that? Some Jedi horse? And it just kind of stuck, because it was like, yeah, he sort of is like a Jedi, isn't he? He wants you to figure it out for yourself, but he'll give you the answers as long as you're willing to say, yes, go ahead, do emotional surgery. I give you permission. And then he'd let you figure it out for yourself, but he would show you. And if you didn't say, go ahead, do emotional surgery, then he'd just be like, fine, that's your choice. Go ahead and suffer. So he wasn't committed to it, but once you stepped in and said, yes, I want help, he'd say, well, all right, then let's buckle up and go on this ride. It's going to get nasty before it gets better, but you will see the light at the end of the day. So he wasn't my nurturing type. He wasn't a nurturer healer. He was just get right in. He didn't do layers. He was like, I see you have a festering, abscessing, emotional trauma, 17 layers deep. Let's just go right down to that layer and get it out, and then you can start healing. Whereas I have other horses that'll go, let's just do layer 17 today, and we'll go there, and that's good. Some people need that. But the people who I think were desperate to heal, maybe even on some suicidality stuff, I think they're at a point where they're just like, just show me what to do. And Spring would sort of say, sure, let's go.
Don't you think though that that's so appropriate to like veterans who have to go all in like that? Like, they didn't waste time.
Pardon the train. That's the other noise pollution we have in Three Bridges.
We love live. We love live.
Very realistic. Did you set that all up?
But I think it was appropriate that he was like that, and that's why the vets loved him too. Like, and the teenagers, if you think about teenagers and vets, what they have in common, and the amazing healing that came from working with him, because he was like that, instead of being tender He was all in. He was in your face.
Yep. And I mean, I will say this. I think when you got to the other side, he did give, and I experienced it myself many times before I really knew what it was. I had someone who knew him well, and I respect their opinion highly. They said, he's really a divine being in a fancy horse suit. And so when you got to the point where you were sort of accepting those answers or those clues or breadcrumbs or what do you want to call it, he could shower on you, and he would do it right on your crown. This incredibly deep, immense love, something that I can't explain I felt from anything else in this world. But it was almost like you had to earn that to feel it. He didn't just hand it out like, here, I'm giving out love buckets. It was more like when you step through the door and you have the courage and the strength and the commitment to step through that door, once you get there, I'm going to give you strength and love like you've never felt or known before. And that's
I just want you to repeat that. I really want you to repeat that.
So it was kind of like, it was sort of like he believed that, I think he believed that healing anything is possible, but you really have to, it has to matter to you the most, and you have to commit to it. And if you're willing to do the work, willing to go in there and go to the core and get into that ugly, then he would meet you. That was a sneeze from a goat. He would meet you kind of at that doorway when you're sort of stripped down raw to the core and you're just like, okay, now what? He would meet you right there, and he would just shower this immensely powerful, deep love right through you. I want to say through you because it would go through the top of your head and all the way down to your feet. And I've never felt that from anything myself. I've never felt that from anything in this world. And I want to say, and I'm a spiritual person. I'm not highly religious, but I'm very spiritual. And I respect all religions as long as they work for you. But, there were times when it would just be quiet in the barn and I'd be alone with him and we weren't working. Because he didn't, we call it EAP and equine-assisted psychotherapy, or learning if we're doing personal development. And we have a session and we have a protocol we follow, but the horses don't pay attention to that. They don't care about labels or what we're doing or not. We weren't immune to it, is what I was saying. His owner, me, he really owned me. It was the other way around, but I call myself his most utilized human. That's what I call myself for him. But like the caretakers, the people who weren't clients, just volunteers or friends, none of us were immune. I mean, he would do it to all of us, but I felt this incredible, when he did put that love out there, it's from another place. It was from another world. It was from something bigger than where we are. And that much I can tell you. The immense depth of it and showering of it was something that was special.
Beautiful.
And Susie, I am grateful for the opportunity to have got to spend some time with you and him and the other horses. But I will tell you, I admire you so much because you have so much courage and you have so much you have a lot of the same character traits as Spring that you just don't recognize maybe. And that is, you don't back up from anything. You have absolutely, passionately, once you got a hold of this, you have changed so many lives because you are passionate about helping and serving and being a blessing, not just to the horses, but to all the humans that you encounter. And the little goats and the little, I can go on and on. But I am so glad that you are doing this and taking time with us on this conference to talk about it, because honestly, who knows about this stuff? There's very few people that understand what you're doing, and that's one of the problems. That's one of the problems that people go, oh yeah, they work with horses, or oh yeah, this. But you've seen all kinds of miracles take place in people where they've been able to change their inside you know, the grieving and the loss when you lose a sibling as a child. And I mean, those are just some of the things I know I'm privy to like stories, but I would love for you to talk a minute about some of the things that you've seen happen, because it I think as a society we need to know and understand more about what you're doing. You know, I came there. I told the story while you were trying to get on. I came there thinking it was going to be awesome because, you know, it's horses and you're so sweet and we're going to have a good time and blah blah blah. Well, you already know it changed my life to come there, because I was so overwhelmed with like what I saw. I had a princess, I guess, epiphany while I was there, that how much more is going on there than I had any idea. And so I wish that we could serve that to everybody that's watching.
Yeah.
You know, give them more insight into some of the miracles that happen with like the teenagers even.
Yeah, I mean, with the nonprofit, you know, we work with Spring Rains of Life, because there's two totally separate companies. The nonprofit focuses on trauma predominantly, and three basic populations. It's military veterans, eventually, if we ever have it funded, their families, and at-risk and high-risk teens, inner-city youth, gang prevention. We also work with foster care and runaways, and actually something that's been coming up on the horizon is the human and sex trafficking survivors. That is another trauma teen group that we may be foraying into, because it's certainly at risk. Also then young children, as you mentioned, 5 to 10-year-old kids who've had a loss in their family. It may be a parent or a grandparent or even a house or a divorce. It's a traumatic loss. And it's so essentially these three populations that are trauma background are either not wanting to talk about it or refusing to talk about it, or maybe they simply can't talk about it because of, you know, a 5-year-old doesn't have the life experience or the vocabulary to express what they're feeling, but they certainly are feeling. And a teenager, I think a well-adjusted, non-risk teenager is basically going to say, when you say, tell me how you feel about that, they're going to say, yeah. So you get a kid off the street who doesn't share with anything, and they're like, F you. And veterans in general just don't want to.
Right.
They don't want to talk about it. So, you know, equine therapy, and a lot of people think we ride, you know, just because we're horses that we ride, but and that's great because there's a lot of good things that come out of riding, but we don't do any riding. All of our work is on the ground. The horses are in an arena or a pasture or a paddock, and the clients are in that same space, and we're all just moving around together. One thing that having the horses loose does is it establishes presence immediately. It's really hard to not stay present when you have 1 or 2 or 3 or even 4,000-pound beings moving around you at their will.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one thing that happens just automatically. And then as we do the sessions, each session is sort of scripted or tailored to what is needed, or at least what we think is needed at that time. A lot of times the horses will change the plan for the day, and we never negate their decision. If we think we're going to create an obstacle course or something to work on that day, because that's what we think the clients need as their next step, we'll have that plan and we'll have it ready to go. But then we walk in and the horses start doing something totally different. We just go, okay, we're not going to do a course. Looks like we're going to do this instead. Yeah. Because they're always right. We have learned when we've tried to sort of infiltrate, no, but this is what we were going to do today, because it's session 3 and we should be working on this. It's never worked out whenever we've sort of tried to override our human plan on top of what the horses are doing. So we've learned as we've gotten better at this work as facilitators, as the human side of the team, that it's always what the horses are doing. So if the horses decide they're going to run around and show what it looks like to be anxious or chaos or whatever may be going on at that moment, we just let that roll and we say, well, let's see where this goes, and let's ask the clients what's happening with the horses. What is going on with this horse or that horse, or why do you think that horse is acting that way? By putting everything onto the horses, and allowing the clients to describe or use their own words of what is happening. Being the equine part of this team, and then working with mental health professionals who know my herd now because they've been doing this for a while with us, we know that they are mirroring or they are representing something that is going on for the group as a whole, or even one person in that group that is affecting the group. So by allowing us to say what's going on with the horses, it allows everyone in the group to define it. And when it's not about them, but it's about the horses, it's a lot easier to put those labels. And so then we use their language and we start to say, what can we do to help Siri with her anxiousness? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think they might, so I'm just making this up as I go, but because I don't quote usually directly. Sometimes I do, but I'll refrain from listing names or anything like that. But so they might say, well, it's the rope and the harness. She doesn't want to be confined or use a rope on her. And so we say, okay, well, let's help her with that anxiety and let her know that the rope doesn't have to be part of it. Is there another way that we can get her to walk over there with you without the rope? And then we're able to tie, it's all metaphors. So we're able to tie later if it works out, let's say that way, then we're able to say, well, so what do you think that rope represents to her? And then next step might be, what is your rope? And then they don't even have to answer that. They just think about it. And usually later on when they go home or they're out of our farm environment, they start to think about what their rope is. And oh my God, my rope is this. It's my mother when she always says this to me. It feels like a rope around my neck. So that's how things can sort of tie together for people that are seeing what the horses are showing them. And no session is the same. Every session is always different. My stupid same old phone is running out of battery, but I have a backup now. I have a way to do that.
That's a really neat description, though, of how you. I mean, it's you guys have seen this, we haven't, and that was just a very vivid description of how useful this can be and how it works.
How truthful. I mean, it really goes right to the core of truth. And I'm blessed in that I have such a diverse group of horses that each sort of has, horses, just like anybody, has different personalities, but the group that I have working with us all this time, each of them were so different in their role that as a total unit together, they could sort of cover all the bases. I have one that is, Dane is very much a nurturer. He's very big and powerful, but he's a nurturer. He'll take you on the baby steps. Yeah. And he's so big and powerful, so you start to realize, wow, I can handle something bigger than myself and do baby steps. Then I have Miff, who's really matriarchal. She's very much a mom. She was a broodmare before she came to us. And so she's tough love mom, though. She's not like a cuddly, coddly one. She's sort of like, stand up, sit up, and then let's go. So she's a little like Spring in that she'll sort of make you own it, but then she'll walk you through the door. And then there's Christianna, who is our actress and our drama queen, and she's Sarah Bernhardt. She will physically act out the whole emotional landscape and let you see what it looks like. And so she makes it very visual for people. And
she's my princess twin.
Yes. Right. She needs to be wearing a tiara, definitely. So when they get together, the four of them, and now we're sort of in a new three, which I've sort of been watching them closely and how they're kind of trying to find balance, because this is a different three than they've ever had before. And I need them to find that stasis, that sort of tabletop solid. Before, I've been thinking about adding Molly in because she seems to be asking to go in. And I was even thinking about doing it before spring passed, but I was going to wait till it got warmer. But now that he's gone, the dynamics have changed so much. I was almost ready last weekend to say, here, spend an hour a day with them and let's see how it goes. And then she cut her head open. So I said, let's wait till the stitches come out now. But I do want to see what she does when she joins them, and if they can help her sort of learn the last leg of our work about people and dealing with how we work safely, because she still is a little bit defensive. but it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. That's something we've never done before, and I'm just going to take our time with it. But as they were, they all covered sort of a different gamut of trauma. And I should say the same thing when we worked with doctors and medical students about how to have better nonverbal communication and better bedside manner. Each of them had a different role in that arena as well. So they're just a really tight, close-knit working herd, and they sort of knew how to pass the baton to each other and how to do what we do. And I will be honest, both Siriana, who was his wife, we both relied on Spring too much. And we realized that abruptly after he was gone. I was so terrified to go in the arena without him, because I always said, bring it on. You can bring anything in my arena. I don't care how bad it is. I have a Jedi, and he'll take care of it, and he'll tell everybody what to do. And he was Siriana's life support. So we both really relied on him, I think, too much. And I was smart enough that in the last few minutes that he was still here, I told him, we're going to set you free now. And he actually launched to get to his feet at that point, which freaked me out. But then he fell down, so it didn't work out. But I promised him, I said, boy, I promise you that we will make you proud of us. And everything that you gave to what we do, I will make it count. And I knew if I said that while he was still here, I wouldn't be so eager to quit when he left, because I really did want to quit, because I didn't think I could do it without him. And Dr. Shoemaker, who saved his life and led us to Igala, and she was actually at his event Tuesday to speak. And all these videos are being posted on our Spring Rays of Life page, actually. If anyone wants to see the event, it's all up there. But she told me, if you don't go into that arena and treat it as sacred space, you are slapping him in the face. And if you don't know well enough by now how strong he was as a horse, I don't think you want to tempt those waters with him in spirit. And she basically scared me into realizing the truth. That not only did I have to pick up my bootstraps and walk in that arena, but that as I crossed the threshold to that gate, that I honor it and I respect it as sacred space, because it is the space that he created for thousands of people. And to just let it die now would be the worst disrespect. And I realized how right she was. And so I remember walking in the first time after we worked, after the day that the veterans came, 4 days after he died, and I went in there and my heart was pounding and I was shaking, and I just thought, I can't do this. And something in that arena happened that day that shifted it, almost took over. I didn't really do my job that day, I'll be honest. I just kind of was there. But something took over, and the horses that were in the arena, the three, Dane, Siri, and Miff, the three remaining herd, it was like magic. And one thing I said in his eulogy, which one of the hardest things I ever did in my life, was I said, because of this horse, I became an addict. And I said it just like that because I knew it would get people's attention. And I also knew that there were veterans in the audience that were addicts or recovering addicts that were self-medicating that way, and that was something he helped them with. But I said, because of this horse, I became an addict. And I had to do everything possible, everything imaginable to feed this addiction and keep it alive. I gave up every monetary and materialistic and valuable thing I had on the outside world's look to feed this addiction. And I will continue to do everything I can with all of my power to feed this addiction. I became addicted to witnessing miracles. And it is something that I experience on an ongoing basis. And I cannot live without it. I will live without health insurance. I'll live without a home. I'll live without a car that works well. I'll live without a lot of things, but I cannot live without the miracles.
Cece, you are so much saying things that people don't even realize what you've given up. Like, they don't realize the depth that you mean that. I have privy information because I know some of the things that you've been through to do what you're doing and how hard you've struggled.
And I'm not whining.
And I know. I know you're not whining.
It is a fair trade. I do hope that we can find the sustenance and the support to stay funded. And I desperately need some farm equipment because it would allow us more energy and time to do our work if we didn't have so much physical labor to do without equipment. But so there are some things I do wish for materialistically, but it's actually in the vein of the work.
Yes.
And I believe those things are coming.
I do too.
I believe that that's one of the things that, that's one of the reasons that we want to put you out there on the Hope to Hope conference, because there are a lot of people across the world, really, that could help, like that wouldn't even affect them. You know what I mean? It would be so little to them that would make such a big difference to you. And again, this conference is not about selling anything. We're going to make sure nobody, tunes out what we're saying. We're not saying that. But I believe that the miracles that are happening, God will fund those.
And we can be part of it.
And we can be part of that.
Yes.
We can be part of that by joining in. And there's a lot of people that they live in the city and they cannot have a horse where they are, and they cannot make the commitment, to have all of the horse, the bills that come with the horse, the money, but they could sponsor one. They could sponsor and be a part of one and I like the one, I don't know, is it okay to say who owned MIF for a while?
Actually, MIF is still supported by Nikita. He still is on board with her. Yeah.
Well,
she loves him more than anybody. So it's kind of like I told her, you can't really leave her because she really believes that you're her human.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that's the thing is, he doesn't. And I didn't understand this until and I still may not understand it real clearly, but you can actually own a part of the horse, one of your horses, and sponsor them and help them and never have to take them to your barn. You take care of them, right. You do everything. And so it's kind of a cool thing. And I have thought of, and I've said this before, I've thought how cool it would be to even give your little kid that's wanting a horse for Christmas, to give them the opportunity to own, a basically they can say that they have part of one of the horses.
Yeah, well, actually, I think Molly is what you might have been thinking of. Molly has 7 women who basically saved her and brought her with us because she wasn't working at first. She was so traumatized you couldn't touch her. Mm-hmm. And I said, this may or may not work out. This she might not be able to do this. So I don't want to make a public. She hasn't been public yet. We're once we get her in with the herd and when she starts working, I will do an unveiling of Molly and her history and all of that. But we didn't want to make it public because what if it didn't work out? And it wasn't about attention at that point. It was about trying to give her a chance.
Yeah.
And so she's now made it to, and it took a year, but she's now kind of a normal horse, so to speak, now at this point, in handling and all that. I mean, she's always going to have her triggers, but she's now ready to start learning about the work. And if she gets into the work and can do it, and I think she'll be brilliant, actually, that's going to be a very cool story. And yes, she's owned by seven women who have really committed to her, and they cover all her bills. And, I'll give you an example. I don't know if we're running out of time, but last Thursday when I found her head split open, I almost retched in the aisle because I realized how bad it was. And I didn't even bother contacting them because I knew there was no way I could do it without a veterinarian help. So I just called the vet right away and I said, get here now. I've got a horse that needs stitches. And then I contacted her owners and I said, look at your mare and we have a vet on the way. But there was nice comfort in knowing that she has people to cover that vet bill because that was an emergency. And I just can't afford to take on more horses without someone to help care for them because I can only do so much in a day and without money to cover their costs. And, I'll say after spring passed up to even a week after he left, I started getting people offering me horses. And there's a part of me that went, wow, because I realized, maybe they realized that there was now a gap and that needed to get filled. So I saw that part of it. But it also just made me cry because I thought, I can't, just because this horse just died doesn't mean I'm ready, first of all, to take another one. And I don't really have fencing situations set up here that I could take in more horses. They have to all be together right now. And, anyway, it just, I have not taken in another horse right now, and I'm not ready to. But it just put the light on it of that in order for anything to expand in that way, we have to have more base support, and we have to be more solid in knowing that we can grow that way, because I don't want to take on the responsibility of a horse that needs care and may need a vet someday and all of that, and fail that horse because there isn't the support, or even worse, fail the horses I already have who already are saving lives and have been doing this work for years. So that's kind of where I get caught.
Yeah.
What a blessing to have, be a part of basically keeping a horse alive and actually giving it a chance to a life that feels purposeful, because they want something to wake up for in the morning. No animal truly wants the traditional domestic life of waking up, eating grass all day, and sleeping. They're intelligent, and so are they. And so it's neat to be able to maybe be a part of supporting that life, especially when that life gives back to our community in such a powerful way.
And Molly's an amazing horse. And you already know this, but my husband fell in love with Molly, and I was afraid that we were going to be taking Molly home with us on the road, because she kept making eyes at him, and he kept loving on her, and I'm thinking, wait a minute now.
And that's something that nobody has control over. That's just kind of like a heart connection. Yeah. And I did see that, because he was a total stranger to her, and she's not so good with strangers. So for her to take to him that way and lead with him all the way out there, and yes, that was pretty cool to see.
It was really sweet. I thought it was very sweet. And I can't wait to come back. We are committed long term to you, to seeing what we can do to help, get you out to the world and help you be able to have some of the pressure off of you. That's the other thing, is, a nonprofit is not a free thing. We think of a nonprofit as no money, but the truth is a nonprofit is a business that needs to be profitable so that you can take care of the horses and pay the vet bills and, buy feed. And so it's
funny. Yeah, you're right, because our vice chairman, Joseph Dokar, who you met when you were here, he's been really trying to work with me on some levels of operational and admin. And he said, look, he said, Cece, you're really good at certain things. And he said, you're a visionary, and you're really good at speaking about what we do and getting it out there and networking in that way. And he said, obviously, you're good at the horses. He said, you suck administratively. You really have zero skills of like organizational details and all that stuff. And he said, and we need someone to take over more admin to set you free to do the things that you're good at, because you're very long, painstaking at the admin stuff, and we're waiting for it, and then it's done in a way that is kind of hard to understand. And so he's right. He's totally right. I'm doing too much, and it's spreading thin, and then it's taking away from the things that I am really good at and that I can do very well on my own.
Yes.
Where I think a lot of people, and that's where like support can come in many ways. It doesn't necessarily, we desperately need funding, but it doesn't have to come in the form of a check. If there's someone out there that can be our superstar admin to help take care of our donor database and our donor receipts, that is such a thing that is like pulling my fingernails out to do that stuff. And, we also need someone just to take care of the day-to-day admin stuff, like make sure that our insurance is filed on time, and, keeping track of when that stuff is due. That's something I suck at. I just suck at it. I'm bad. And so it'd be great if someone wanted to own that and take it over and say, well, volunteer my time to do that because I'm really good at it. Or, we even could use more board members that could help us reach out and get more support. So there's people that are good at being on a board. I can't be on the board. I'm not allowed. But
yeah, but the thing that takes you 20 hours to do, if that's their gift, would take them 2 hours.
Yeah.
yes.
The volunteer commitment is not near as huge if that's what your gifting is.
Right.
Exactly.
But when it's not your gift, it is like pulling out your toenails and
there is someone, I know people are watching, there is someone out there who is really good at paperwork. Maybe you've worked in an office and you know the routine, but maybe you're a little timid around animals, or you are a psychology student who wants to learn more about this kind of therapy, and this is a phenomenal connection for you. And with modern technology, you can do things virtually. So let's just engage someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in contact with Cece, we'll put her information in there. If you want us to make a connection with you for Cece, like to Cece, message us. We'd be happy to introduce you online to Cece. Anything that anybody can do. Don't think it's too small. Don't think it's too, I don't know. Don't negate what your gift is. If you have a gift to offer, and I'm not talking financially. I mean, sure, if you want to send checks, we'll give you Cece's address.
Absolutely.
But
we'll give you a receipt. Somebody will. Our new volunteer who does our donor group will give you a receipt promptly.
I like the way you think.
Cece, I love you so much, and I hate to end this. I'm like having a fit because I want to stay on another hour with you because I want to be there. That's the problem. I want to be there and just all the things that I learned from being there. They have grown.
They finally laid down. They're sitting on the picnic table in front of me.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're gonna put your stuff in the comments, so that people can find you. We will definitely forward any messages that we get. I'll be talking to you soon because I actually have some news to tell you that you don't know yet, and I'm excited.
It's such a pleasure to meet you. I'm just fascinated by what you do.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I was late, you guys, but thank you.
No. You know what?
Kim, you're welcome anytime. You and Troy are welcome anytime at the farm.
Oh,
just tell me you're coming, so I'm here.
Thank you so much. We love you, and we'll see you soon. And everybody that's watching, please do share this so that the right people will be found for helping Cece and springs of spring. I never say it right.
Spring rains of hope. Yes.
Spring Rains of Life is our nonprofit org.
It's in the comments. Rains is REINS, like reins on a horse. So Spring Rains of Life, but there's a link in the comments.
So, love you, Cece. Love you guys for watching. This is Kim White with the My Sexy Business team.
And Kristi Bridges with One Moment Wiser.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Kim and Kristi. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
We'll be back at what time?
We'll be back at
1:30.
1:30.
So 15, 20 minutes. We'll be back.